What's up, guys? Sam here from Hunter Power Sports, Hendersonville, North Carolina. Today we're going to talk about the street legal capability of these off-road side-by-side UTV vehicles. Recently, legislation has passed here in North Carolina that allows for these vehicles to be driven on the street as of October 1st, 2021. But it does require a few things. First and foremost, of course, we have to have headlights, which most of these come factory equipped with. Also part of that requirement here, we have to have turn signals left and right. You can see here we've got turn signals left and right. We've got hazard lights. We've got our headlights, our high beams, other requirements. There are some other requirements that we have to have. So you have to have rear view mirrors, or side view mirrors, I should say. You actually only have to have one on the driver's side to meet your qualifications, but of course we recommend two. You also have to have a rear view mirror, just like your car has, because you can see the back. Well, there's two other options when it comes to your windshield. So if you have a windshield installed on your unit, you have to have a windshield wiper. This one has a manual wiper that you can just operate by hand. It does not have to be a motorized wiper, but you do have to have some sort of wiper. Now, if you don't have a windshield, you are not required to have a windshield wiper, clearly. But in order to meet the safety qualifications, you will have to wear a helmet and goggles. Let's go around the back. So here in the back, you can see we've got, this one does have an aftermarket bumper, which the bumper is not required. We've got tail lights here, which operate as your brake lights and your turn signals. Now, one of the things that people tend to overlook is the fact that you have to have a place to mount your license plate, which is, on this one, is right down here, which is it's difficult to see on this one. Wherever you mount your license plate, you have to have some sort of light to illuminate the license plate, because part of the street legality of these is they're allowed to be operated at night. So because of that, the license plate has to be illuminated. That's not something that is going to be on the UTV checklist that is provided by the state, but in order to pass a state safety inspection, it does require that light. One of the things that people have said is, well, a golf cart doesn't have to have that. Well, a golf cart is not allowed to operate except during daylight hours on the road. These are going to be allowed to operate after dark as long as it fits all the safety requirements. So, one of the other requirements you've got to have here is seat belts. If you've got an older unit that doesn't have seat belts, you will actually have to install seat belts in it. Doors are not required, but they are recommended. You can also use the, similar to what Jeeps operate with just a bar or some sort of netting. So it is also required that you have a rear view mirror so that you can see behind you. Just like your car has to have a rear view mirror. And these side view mirrors on either side, you have to have this one on the driver's side. Passenger side is not required. Now, some of these smaller units, like for example the Kimcos, are just barely too narrow on factory specs. But once you put a set of mirrors on them, the state counts that as qualifying as being wide enough to be operated on the street, because you have to have a minimum, you have to meet the minimum requirements for size. All of the accessories have been installed. Now, if you haven't had your accessories installed by us and you are bringing it in, we can offer that verification service, because it does have to be verified by some sort of shop. We can do that charge for $49.99 so that you get your certification that says that it has everything that it has to have to be street legal. when you buy a new unit from us, if we install the street kit, that is your registration and your verification affidavit is something that we will provide when you buy a new unit. If you have a unit and you're unsure of whether it qualifies for street use, it does have some minimum requirements. I believe it's 110 inches in length.
Yeah.
I believe it is
54
inches wide and 60 inches, and I believe 60 inches tall. You have to go a minimum speed of 40 miles per hour. Now this one here has a safety triangle on it, you know, a low speed vehicle triangle. That is not something that is required. That is something that a lot of people, you know, they operate these on the street and they just put that on there and they get away with it in a lot of rural areas. But now, of course, they can be registered to be driven on all streets. So, you know, adding this, not requirement, but it's definitely a good idea for you to have for visibility purposes. So here's an example of one that wouldn't be capable of being registered on the street. It's too narrow, it's too short, and it does not meet the minimum speed requirements. This one will only top out at 25 miles per hour. Now this is one you could probably put the safety triangle on and use, you know, going across the street, but it is not street legal to have one of these. You can see here the difference in size between, we've got an SX, and then here we have a 4010. 4010 does meet the size requirement. We go this way, of course. We have the, this way, of course, we have the Terex 4 800. This is a perfect example of meeting everything that it needs. This one does not have the street kit on it, but it's well above minimum speed. It's wide enough, it's long enough, it's tall enough. Well, street kit. So if you have any questions about taking whatever your side-by-side is, whether you've got one of these, one of those, and you want to make it street legal, you can come down and see us. We'll make sure you get all your paperwork in line, or you can come buy a new one, and we'll just take care of everything then.